and welcome. This is Shanna today for Pixie Dust Designs, and I'm super excited to be showing you an early sneak peek release of the new release for Pixie Dust Designs, featuring some cute tea and coffee related products, including this You're a Cutie 6x6 double-sided paper pad. Lots of pattern options here. We're going to be using one piece of this in today's project. I absolutely adore how this coordinates really well with a new stamp set that's also coming out in this release. I am using this piece out of the pad, and mainly because I liked the tone-on-tone print for the back, because we're going to use it in the background of our card. So I didn't want it to overwhelm my shaker, because next up, this is the new Tea Time shaker die set. Has this adorable teapot with the words Tea Time in cursive pieced across it, along with the base and some decorative pieces to add to it as well. So let's go ahead and get started. To start, I'm going to trim my 6x6 piece of paper down to an A2 size, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And we are going to do a landscape orientation because that teapot actually fits pretty much across the entire panel. Setting that base aside, I die cut 6 of the Tea Time dies because I'm going to stack them and turn this into a shaker. These layer really nicely, but I didn't want all of the shaker pieces to get caught in the words. So I chose to cut out all of the words from these. So I just had a hollow shaker outline. I did this using an X-Acto knife. You could use a pair of scissors. There's actually some embossing done by the die that gives you a little bit of guidelines for cutting out the words. You could save those and actually use them on another card. So I did that to all of the pieces, and now I'm going to glue them all together. I use a wet adhesive for this because I like the maneuverability I get with it. So I'm just going to apply glue to all of the die cut, and then I'm going to stack them one on top of each other. So I have a super thick teapot, essentially, that's going to work as the frame for my shaker. I went ahead and edited out some of the teapots so you didn't have to watch me stack all of them, but the process was the same. At the very end, I weigh them down with an acrylic block just to make sure that wet adhesive dries evenly all the way through them. Next, I need to cut my piece of acetate. To do that, I took the negative from die cutting out one of those teapots, and I'm going to trace it with a Sharpie marker to give me the basic shape I need for my window. Here I actually make a mistake, but I'm also going to show you how I fixed it. So I drew the outline I needed for the window. You'll notice on this right side, I'm coming straight down from that handle. I'm going to put the actual die cut over it, and you see how it actually rounds out. I need to add that more round shape so I have a full coverage piece of acetate for the window. So I just kind of freehanded that part, and it worked out great. But now I have this black stripe coming down my window where you can see it. The nice thing about Sharpie on acetate is it's actually erasable. The only way you can erase it, though, is with rubbing alcohol. So I'm just going to grab a little 2x2 square pad for, like, from a first aid kit that I have that has rubbing alcohol on it, and literally just wipe off the Sharpie. There's no black residue, there's nothing. It wipes completely off and clean. So just a note, so if you're ever trying to freehand anything onto acetate, Sharpie is super great because it doesn't smear, but I can erase it with alcohol. At this point, I'm just taking some sharp scissors and going ahead and cutting out that shape. And then I'm going to glue it to the backs, or to the front of my frame piece. So making sure you have the right side up for your dies, those stacked dies, I'm gluing it down to the front because this is a top window piece for a shaker. I'm once again just going to use the wet glue, and I'll weigh it down again with that acrylic block. It will help it smooth out and bond really well with like a flat surface bond instead of the bubble out that you can get with some wet glue. Alternatively, you could use a dry adhesive like tear tape, but for this I really like how strong wet adhesive adheres. So just putting on that window and then weighing it down. And that finishes the core part of this shaker. While it was drying, I went and die cut it out again using some iridescent cardstock I have. I also cut out the lid and the little decorative pieces for the lid. So there's an additional little knob and there's like a scalloped edge you can put onto it to help decorate it. I did this all out of the same cardstock for a single color design, but you could mix and match. You could do pattern paper here. You could mix up your colors and do coordinating colors to offset for some focal interest. I wanted this all to be super shiny and iridescent, so I kept with a tone-on-tone design. So I'm just adding that to the top. What's really nice is it adds a little bit of dimension without any more height. Since there's already a shaker involved on this card, height works against me when I want to go to mail it. So I just liked the little bit of depth that layered die cut does. Coming back in with wet glue, this is going to get glued on top of the acetate, so it won't interfere with the inside shaker. This is going to decorate the top and let the shaker shine through behind it. I'm kind of polka dotting my words because if you use too much glue, it's going to smear and it's going to show up on that acetate. I don't want it to bleed out, so I'm super light-handed with the glue, and then you just line it up right on top of all of those stacked die cuts. I will once again, and as I usually do, weigh this down with that same acrylic block just to make sure it bonds really well. I love that with a couple releases, Pixie Dust Designs is coming out with these cute little shaker packets because they coordinate so well with their shaker products. So I'm going to use some of these like little tea cookie shapes, and then I'm also going to use the pastel sprinkles because I really liked how the pastel vibes worked with the paper pad piece of paper I used. The colors really mix and match super well. I'm kind of an in-betweener with how full I make my shakers. I don't like them super full to where there isn't any movement really, but I definitely don't like to be super light on it where it looks like you're just shaking around a couple pieces. So I go somewhere in the middle. The key point here is you want to make sure everything lays really flat and nothing's stacked on each other for the shakers before you close it up on the back, because otherwise you're going to end up pushing against your acetate and it's going to bubble or not shake at all. It's just going to be stuck. So making sure it's a nice even flat layer of shaker bits, and then you're going to seal it all closed with that base die that doesn't have anything cut out. It's going to close the back of it and allow you to have something to glue to your card. So once I flipped this teapot over and kind of centered it on my card, I decided I wanted something to ground it out. It kind of looks like it's just floating on a piece of cardstock, which it's adorable cardstock. That does work for some card designs, but Pixie Dust has this fun doily die set that I thought would be perfect to use with the teapot. So I went ahead and die cut it out of some sheer vellum because I wanted it something kind of lets the paper shine through, but still added some interest to ground out that. I toyed with maybe just using half of it and putting it across the bottom, but ultimately I just went for the center of the card. I only put glue in the center of this. Glue shows through vellum, as you can see here. You can see wherever you put glue. So I'm hiding it behind the teapot. The rest of the teapot's going to hold down the rest of that doily and you won't have it fall off at all. So centering the teapot down on the card, and then all that was left for me to do was adhere it to an A2 card base. Thank you so much for joining. Be sure to check out the description box below for more information on this coffee hop and the brand new release. Thanks again, guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.